Hello, my name's Richard. I'm pastor at the King's Church in Addlestone in Surrey, and we're carrying on with the Sermon on the Mount today. The Sermon on the Mount, which Jesus spoke to his disciples from the mountainside. So I'm going to go straight ahead and read to you from Matthew chapter 5, which says, "You are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand and leave it, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Jesus says, you are the salt of the earth. He says, you are the light of the world. Jesus is talking to his followers. He's talking to you. And he says, you are these things. Not you will become these things if you listen to me diligently for many years, go through a lot of training, pass some exams. He says, no, you are these things right now. And this is a great encouragement as well as a great challenge to all those who follow Jesus. The encouragement is an affirmation of who Jesus' followers really are. There was a Roman scholar who lived a little bit after Jesus, and one of the things he said was, there's nothing more useful than sunlight and salt. Those two things, sunlight and salt. And so Jesus is speaking to his listeners in a way saying that you are the most useful thing, the most wonderful thing this world can have. And the challenge is to live in that reality. The challenge is not to lose that saltiness or hide that light. There was another early church father. This was a disciple of one of the disciples, a guy called John Chrysostom. And he said, based on this teaching, you are accountable not only for your own life, but also for that of the entire world. So these words of Jesus come with great encouragement, but also a great challenge, a great responsibility that we carry as Jesus' followers. But anyway, before we get into that, let's just look at a little problem here. Now, I've checked this with our resident chemistry expert, and that is this: salt cannot lose its saltiness. Sodium chloride, which is the chemical name for salt, is one of the 3 or 4 most stable compounds in the world. Salt just does not lose its saltiness. It is either salt or it's just salt. Salt is always salt. So either Jesus doesn't know what he's talking about, or something else is going on here. And I think, I'll go for that later one there, that something else is going on here. I think that gives us a clue as to how to understand Jesus. And actually, some of you probably aren't going to like this, but actually we need to understand that Jesus isn't always talking to us literally. He doesn't always give us black and white set of do and don'ts, the right and wrongs, just all listed. There we are, just plain and simple. You have to listen well to hear what he's really meaning sometimes. He speaks in a way that is not necessarily literal, but he's speaking in a way to inspire and to challenge a response in us. And you'll find that through the rest of the sermon too. He's not just delivering facts, his words are living and active. More than just telling us stuff and statements, there's layers of meaning in what Jesus says. So anyway, let's maybe look at one layer in what Jesus is saying. Let's go back to what he says. He says, you are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. Okay, so let's look at what that means, or what that can mean. Salt is good for making food tasty, right? If you have a bag of chips from the chip shop, one of the things they'll ask you is, do you want salt and vinegar on that? So let's just take the salt, chips and salt. You sprinkle the salt on the chips, don't you? The salt has to come in contact with the chips. We don't just have a plate of chips or a bag of chips and then some salt and just move them near each other. We actually put the salt on the chips and mix it around, and so the salt gets onto the food and just brings an amazing flavour, doesn't it? I mean, chips without salt? Chips with salt? Yeah. We don't want the plain, bland stuff. We want the salt to make them taste great. And for some reason, they do taste great with the salt. So the salt needs to come in contact with the food in order to flavour it. The salt needs to be rubbed in. It needs to be mixed in or sprinkled on. Otherwise, it's lost its saltiness in that sense. The saltiness is lost if we don't actually apply it in the right way. So Jesus says, you are the salt of the earth. And I think part of what he's getting at there is that you salt people, you need to be mixing in with the world out there. You need to be involved with and interacting with the world in a way that brings transforming flavour to life, to the world around us. See, the world is pretty tasteless and dry and often unpalatable in many instances. And the encouragement is for us to be salt in the world, to bring flavour and to bring life to the real life, to the life that we live. And so the challenge there in that is also that we must continue to be salty. We should not stop being salty, meaning we shouldn't stop interacting with the world around us. We need to carry on being out there, being a distinctive flavour in an otherwise tasteless world. Don't hold back and don't retreat into a little enclave and not take the salt out where it's needed. So he carries on. Jesus carries on. He says, you are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. So let's have a little think about what that means. I, for Christmas, bought myself, with my Christmas money, I bought myself a new set of bike lights. And my word, they are bright. I should have brought them with me to show you, but it may not have worked on the camera because they are so dazzling, so bright. Perfect for riding the bike. Now, I also ride my bike with a rucksack. And the thing is, I can turn these lights on. If I then just stuff them in my rucksack and put it on my back, it's not going to have the right effect. People won't see me from behind or in front. You need to have the lights shining backwards and forwards so that people can see you and you can see the road ahead of you. So Jesus is saying we are like this. We are to be ones who illuminate the world around us and not just hiding that light in a rucksack. Why would we do that? Or as he says, put our light under a bowl. You might remember that Jesus said himself, he said, I am the light of the world. And now here he says to his disciples, you are the light of the world. And so there's an encouragement to us to shine like him. We are to reflect him like the moon reflects the sun and bring hope and life and light to the world around us. And so what is it to hide that light? Well, one interpretation comes from St. Augustine. I think he lived in something like the 4th century. And he said to hide the light of Christ is to stay inside the safety of the church. Doing all our good stuff and our God stuff within the 4 walls of the church, but actually then when we leave the church, we carry on living just the same as everyone else out there. Jesus says, don't hide your light. Shine. Shine that the people of Addleston, your friends, your neighbours, your family may see your good works and praise your Father in heaven. That's the call for us as Jesus' disciples. Your lives following Christ, just going about the humble, simple, upside-down way of Jesus will bring light to the world. And as it does so, it will point to our Father in heaven. You'll be so different, so other, might even say so holy, that it will impact the world around you for good. The world needs you with Christ in you. The world needs you to follow Christ because it is good for the world that you do follow Christ. Remember what Chrysostom, that ancient father of the church, said. He said, you are accountable not only for your own life, but also for the entire world. So it is good for Addleston that we are the King's Church if we really follow the way of Jesus. And so there is encouragement and there is challenge in this. The King's Church, I'm speaking to you now. Addleston needs you. To be salt and light means putting this faith into action in a way that actually benefits the world around us. So what does that mean? It means not just knowing about the poor in our town, or those who are less well off than us, but actually going out and doing something to help them. It means not just talking about being a church family and we welcome all kinds of people, we welcome them in, but actually be willing to invite people into your own home, into your own life, and to get alongside them. It means not just agreeing with a sermon like this on how Jesus can help people who live chaotic and broken lives, but actually getting involved with those whose lives are broken and chaotic and bringing salt and light into those situations. You are the salt of the earth. Don't lose your saltiness by not being engaged with the world around you. You are the light of the world. Don't hide that light by staying in the safe place of the church, but go out and shine and bring light to the world around us. Be Christ-like in your ways. Bring the good news of the kingdom of God wherever you go. Make disciples by being an example that impacts the world around you, an example that is present and here, and an example that can be followed, the way of Jesus. You are the light of the world. I'm going to finish with some words that Paul the Apostle wrote in the Epistle to the Romans, which I think sums up some of this. He says, "Therefore I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. Do not conform to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will." Amen. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and please do leave a comment. I love to hear from you, know your thoughts on the messages that I preach, and if you've got any questions, please put them in the comments. I'd love to hear them. God bless.